I'd like to call the Metro Council meeting into order for May 1st, 2025. Good morning, everyone. Georgia has started the recording. Will you please call the roll for attendance?
Yes. Counselor Wong.
Present. Present.
Counselor Rosenthal.
Present. Good morning.
Counselor Simpson.
Present, good morning.
Counselor Nolan is excused. Counselor Gonzalez is excused. Counselor Lewis should be here soon. And Council President Peterson.
Here, thank you. Georgia, will you please play the safety video for our in-person attendees?
I'm Micah Reese, and I'm the Dive Safety Officer here at the Oregon Zoo, and safety is a big part of my job. Some of the things we consider here is diver safety. I'm out here at the Oregon Zoo, and you're at the Metro Regional Center. The council chamber is located on the 3rd floor of this building. In the event of fire or fire alarm, please exit through the door in the northeast corner of the room, go down the steps to the 2nd floor, and exit through the main entrance by the reception desk and gather in the courtyard outside the entrance. In the event of a medical or fire emergency, please call 911 and notify the security agent at the front desk. The nearest defibrillator is mounted on the steps leading from the reception desk down to Grand Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a note for the record, Councilor Nolan has entered the room. Thank you. All right, we will now open up public communication on non-agenda items. Georgia, will you please describe to the audience our procedures that we will use for public communications on non-agenda items?
If you are testifying in person, please sign up by filling out a blue card in the back of the room and bringing it up to me. If you are testifying on Zoom or by phone, please sign up by using the Raise Hand function in the Reactions tab or More menu, or by dialing *9. When it's your turn to testify, I'll call your name or phone number. For those on Zoom, click Accept to be promoted to a panelist. Your Zoom window will close briefly before you rejoin as a panelist. You can turn on your camera if you like. Testimony is limited to 3 minutes. A timer begins when you begin speaking. Please state your name for the record before testifying. You do not need to give your physical address. And Council President Peterson, we do have one person who signed up to testify, and that is Art Llewellyn. And you can come up to any of the 4 up here.
So I can testify now?
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Metro Council. I'm Art Llewellyn. I have been before Metro Council many times over the years, dating back to the 1990s. And my usual subject is mass transit planning, and often that includes land use and development planning. And I have some materials to submit. I think this one's meaningful. It's a proposal for a design for replacing the Markham Bridge, because I know it's on the list of bridges that will eventually have to be replaced. 4 lanes in each direction. On the north end, the Rose Quarter, a proposal that I think is a part of the planning now, parts of it. This is what could, in my opinion, be salvaged, because I don't support the I-5 project as proposed. Recently, when the Metro approved the funding for going ahead with the project, Council, presiding officer, you said, quote, any normal Department of Transportation engineer would be planning for 9 lanes in each direction for this segment of I-5, and that's just not possible. Not possible, not even sensible. I don't know why you said it. I want to describe today the parts of it that are salvageable, which I think, going back a few years, 3 or 4, there was a design for a new entrance ramp southbound from Weidler. And there was a bridge from Broadway over to Weidler. And that little redirection of traffic takes the volume of traffic off of the next lot and makes for a safer entrance, safer. So it's not on the drawing board, and I don't know why you wouldn't consider the safety of it by letting it go. More recently, a design for exiting I-5 southbound past Weidler with a kind of a loop that would take all that exiting traffic, or most of it, from Broadway and direct it away from stoplights. And so when pedestrians want to cross, the least amount of cars and traffic they have to deal with is what you want. And the existing southbound exit at the Broadway, I think that's got to stay, because it's the safest exit. And with this new exit to get onto Weidler, then you can just direct that traffic west. And that's the safest way to get off of I-5. I want to sum up. This is an essay that I wrote, and I asked you, have any of you read it? It's called The Walking Communities of 2040. Would you read it if
Do you want to sum up?
I am summing up.
Thank you.
Would you read it if I submitted it again? I'm sure you have copies, but yes or no? Yes.
Whatever you submit.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and have a good day today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Art. Council President Peterson, we do not have anyone else who has signed up to testify today.
All right, seeing no one running forward and no hands raised online, we'll close public communication and non-agenda items and move into our presentations. Our first presentation this morning continues Metro's observation of Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Day of Awareness, or MMIP. Observing MMIP on May 5th as part of Metro's effort to educate staff and increase awareness about this terrible epidemic. Every year since 2018, community partners and Indigenous staff from across Metro have shared their work and stories with us. Members of Metro Staff Affinity Group are with us today to present some of the key factors and issues that continue to perpetuate this crisis across Indian country. I also want to thank the community members joining us today to participate in and observe the presentation. Before we begin, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to acknowledge, honor, and remember the individuals who have lost their lives, and let us also remember their families, friends, and communities who grieve them and who bear the weight of their absence every day. Thank you, everyone, for that moment. I hope it helps ground us and bring us perspective to this important conversation this morning. I'd now like to introduce Katie McDonald, our Tribal Liaison for Metro. Thank you, Katie.
Ki suki ukid kapaniskit, hukakli Katie McDonald, hu sukit hu upani, kukini nafsan nietki. Good morning, councilors. Thank you for having us, and thank you for that moment of silence before we begin the presentation this morning. I introduced myself to you sharing my name, Katie McDonald. I'm one of the tribal liaisons in Metro's Tribal Affairs program. And my family is Bitterroot, Salish, Pend Oreille, and Kootenai, and really glad to be here with you again today. And thank you for being so generous with your time this morning so we can really talk about this issue with you. This morning, I'm joined by members of our Native Staff Affinity Group who are here to continue our educational awareness campaigns with you regarding Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Day of Awareness. As you just mentioned, Metro first observed MMIP in 2018, and in 2023, you permanently proclaimed every May 5th as MMIP Day of Awareness going forward. Since then, we've come to discuss the issue with you, occasionally also with community partners and community members alongside us. And we're very fortunate to have community partners and members with us here today to provide support in the room and also to share testimony with you later this morning. We have immense gratitude to each of them who have taken time out of their day to be here with us. Before we get there, in the community testimony, you're going to hear from our Native Staff Group about the issues that continue to perpetuate the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples crisis. This morning, we'll be sharing information so that you can learn more about how improper or poor data collection perpetuates the crisis. You will hear more about the legal patchwork in the United States that tribes have to navigate when their tribal members are harmed or go missing on Indian lands. And you'll hear about the insufficient reporting in the media that forgets our relatives. We believe the brief discussion on each of these topics will help you and others listening broaden their awareness of the issue and what happens when our loved ones and our relatives go missing. Before we start, we hope to ask you for your patience and deep listening with us today. Many of us up here know loved ones, community members, and relatives in Indian country who have been impacted by this epidemic. Before coming to the meeting today, I could count at least 5 generations in my family, past and present, men, women, and children who have been impacted by the disproportionate rates of domestic, sexual, and homicidal violence against Indian people in the United States. Each one of these people and relatives that we know who have been impacted by this epidemic are a person who is sacred to us, and someone whose life was altered and whose future was changed forever. To show and honor this relationality, today you're going to hear us use 2 terms interchangeably. So MMIP, Missing and Murdered Indigenous People, and then also MMIR, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives, so that we can continue to center our connections to those people, again, who are so important to us. We appreciate your patience as we navigate this weighty topic and as we invite community guests up to also engage with you. For folks who are in the audience and listening, please be advised that our presentation will discuss topics including violence perpetuated against Indigenous people. We ask everybody to please take care of yourselves. And again, we'll do a little bit of changeover of who's in the chairs as we move through the presentation. But I'd like to now introduce our Native Staff Affinity Group colleagues in the order that they will be presenting and speaking with you today. We have joining us this morning Felicia Tiba, Willow Howard, and also Stephanie Tabibian. When they have finished their remarks, I will conclude our staff presentation and then help introduce and invite our community guests to the dais for their comments with you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good morning, Guatsi. My name is Felicia Tiba. I work in Parks and Nature on the Community Education and Stewardship team. I'm an enrolled member of the Pueblo of Acoma in New Mexico, and I'm also Diné and from the Pueblo of Santa Clara. This morning, I will be presenting about some of the data issues regarding missing and murdered Indigenous people. First, I'd like to orient you to some of the high-level data and statistics about how MMIP affects Native people. According to the Urban Indian Health Institute's report on missing and murdered women and girls, murder is the 3rd leading cause of death for American Indian and Alaskan Native women and girls. The same report lists that many of the victims range in age from babies as young as 1 year old to elders as old as 83 years old. According to the Center for Disease Control's National Intimate Partner in Sexual Violence Survey in 2020, non-Hispanic American Indian, Alaskan Native, and Alaskan Native men had the second highest rate of homicide compared with men in all other racial and ethnic groups. Homicide was also in the top 10 leading causes of death for American Indian and Alaskan Native men ages 1 through 45 in 2020. A 2004 study published in the journal Cultural Diversity and Ethnic Minority Psychology reported that gender-based violence, including sexual assault and physical violence, is committed against 78 to 85% of Indigenous Two-Spirit individuals. In addition, according to a 2021 report by the Congressional Research Service, American Indians and Alaskan Natives make up 3.6% of people in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons Database. This means Indigenous people in the U.S. make up a disproportionate number of people in the database, as American Indians and Alaskan Natives make up only 0.9% of the U.S. population. Much of the data I've just shared with you is just a starting point regarding the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous peoples. While it is always good and necessary to have data to point to, as I researched data for this presentation, it became clear that there are still barriers to data collection and distribution. First, much of the data available regarding the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous people is out of date. For instance, the earlier mentioned report from the Urban Indian Health Institute contains data collected before 2017. There is a very real irony here that we cannot even access up-to-date data regarding how poor the data is on the MMIP crisis. Second, gathering data that is relevant to the state of Oregon and the Portland metro area is difficult to find and creates a barrier for us to see who is currently missing in our community and in our state. In 2024, Underscore News published a story that noted that Oregon State Police do not track whether a missing person has tribal affiliation. This hole in data collection is complicated and one that many law enforcement agencies across the country struggle with. Of concern is racial misclassification of missing Indigenous people. Many Indigenous people have intersectional identities or may be of two or more races, leading them to be incorrectly identified with demographic data. Further muddying the waters here is that being an enrolled member of a tribe is a question of citizenship and political status, not purely race. A victim's tribal enrollment status, if the crime occurred on Indian land, changes who the responding jurisdiction is and is critical information. If this data is not gathered, proper police response may not occur. As of this week, the Oregon State Missing Persons Database has 27 missing persons identified as American Indian or Alaska Native. None of these missing persons have a photo available to aid the public in helping to find them and to bring them home. Further, many of the listed missing persons were not cross-reported in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons database I mentioned earlier. This highlights another significant gap in data that contributes to the MMIP crisis. Jurisdictions do not report across databases when Native people go missing. This leads to inefficiencies in pooling resources to properly respond and can hamper justice when the crime that has been committed crosses jurisdictional boundaries between cities, counties, or states. We must remember and center the human aspect related to the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous peoples. The least we can do to honor those who have been impacted and lost is to have proper data collection processes in place so that swift justice can occur. I will now pass the presentation over to Willa Howard.
It should be on.
Sheikh Maitski, Nashwan Niksha Wampsha, and me Tuta, Daryl Howard, and me Ithla, Jana Hoptawit, and me Cottonham, Toppenish Creek Longhouse. Good day. My name is Wampsha, is my traditional name. My English name is Willow Howard. I'm here to introduce my parents. That is a general custom to introduce our parents and where we come from, and that I come from the Toppenish Creek Longhouse. And today I'm here to talk about PL 280, introduce you to the law and talk about just general facts about it, and then talk about the challenges and what tribes are doing to address the law. So PL 280 was passed in 1953. It was a politically driven federal law transferring jurisdiction from federal government to states. The law is complex and controversial in describing impacts on national and local level because it was passed without the tribe's consent. This law had various reasons to be passed, such as concerns of lawlessness on reservations. Some states wanted more control over Indian affairs within reservations and federal cost cutting to reduce federal responsibility and put the responsibility on states. PL 280 transferred criminal jurisdiction and limited civil jurisdiction over tribal lands from the federal government to certain state governments. PL 280 undermines tribal sovereignty by allowing states to exert jurisdiction over tribes without adequate tribal consent or consultation. At this moment, states can decide over sovereign power that has an agreement with the federal government in most instances before a state becomes recognized as a state. Initially, it was applied to 6 mandatory states, including Alaska, California, Minnesota, Nebraska, Oregon, and Wisconsin. Now the federal government has given up all special criminal jurisdiction over Indian offenders and victims in the following states: Arizona, Florida, Idaho, Iowa, Montana, Nevada, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, and Washington. An amendment in 1968 created the need for tribal consent. Since 1953's enactment, Oregon has a similar patchwork with complex jurisdictional boundaries affecting law enforcement, court access, and service provision. So I will use examples from the Yakima Nation, as I am an enrolled Yakima member, and I have completed research in graduate school about PL 280. And PL 280, Washington specifically is not a mandatory state, but Yakima Nation did retrocede 5 points of law from PL 280. The 5 points were civil and criminal jurisdiction domestic relations, juvenile delinquency, dependency, and child welfare, mental health, and involuntary commitment. So some of the challenges when discussing PL 280 is PL 280 transferred jurisdiction without adequate federal funding or to states or tribes, leaving gaps in the service delivery or responsibility. An unfunded mandate creates jurisdictional gaps between tribal, state, and federal law enforcement in emergencies or criminal prosecutions. The real-time impact is that Native women and children get forgotten because of the lack of clear responsibility or coordination. For example, if there's a domestic violence situation, there's always a concern if you're calling tribal police or the sheriffs. So they're just always like, who do we call because of citizenship or enrollment to a tribe? Most reservations across the United States are very checkerboard, which creates interjurisdictional areas where tribal lands are interdispersed with non-tribal land. This checkerboard structure creates a more complex jurisdictional issue about who is responsible for whom. So now this is why the analysis is made based on citizenship and if you're in a federally recognized tribe, when as a citizen you deserve safety. What are tribes doing to address the 280 challenges? PL 280, the tribes in the Pacific Northwest advocate for government-to-government agreements, cross-deputization, the Badges Act, and the mutual aid frameworks. It is understood that multiple courts and police stations need more officers and relevant staff. Still, police have millions of acres they are responsible and do not receive adequate equipment, response, or pay. It creates an unsafe homeland for humans regardless of citizenship of a tribe. Tribes have created relationships with the county, state, federal governments to make a clear MOU. They've also created things like tribal community response plans, which is also referred to as a TCRP. The Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs is the first tribe in Oregon to develop an adopted TCRP. Tribes support the Violence Against Women Act, Tribal Law and Order Act, and the Savannahs Act, which are policies that reaffirm tribal jurisdiction and restore rights under PL 280. Funding is paramount to implementing the law, ensuring adequate justice in rural areas. Overall, tribes need to be involved in decisions that affect the land, people, resources, and government. Identifying remains or receiving DNA back from approved labs have many time constraints, which hinder an investigation and overall prosecution, and sometimes is not impossible without funding. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Willow. Mamahagani Nananiha, Stephanie Tabibian. I'm a member of Shoshone Paiute Tribes from Duck Valley, Hawaii, Nevada. I come to you today as the Parks and Nature Tribal Government Planner, and I'm going to draw attention to the lack of appropriate media coverage for missing and murdered Indigenous relatives. I'm going to share a couple of example cases, discuss the level of media coverage they received and how media or a lack of media can be harmful for victims in our community, and then end with some recommendations for Metro. 4 years ago, Leroy Xavier Was Morrill, a young man affiliated with the Klamath Tribes in Cherokee Nation, was 21 years old when he was killed in his apartment in Tigard, Oregon. His case was mentioned a few times by local Oregon news outlets, but did not make national news. Some of the articles that covered his murder case perpetuated negative stereotypes of Indigenous people by highlighting drug involvement rather than humanizing him as a victim who lost his life while trying to defend himself. This approach to reporting on MMIP cases is highly problematic because this dehumanizing portrayal of him perpetuates harm and normalizes violence towards Native people. As previously mentioned, or maybe it wasn't, in November of 2023, Wilma Acosta, Pasquiyaqui a woman living in Portland, was missing and her body was found in the Willamette River in January of 2024 near Cathedral Park. When researching her case, I found her story to be mentioned about 30 times by local Oregon news outlets. Half of the articles were published during the search period for her and prior to her body being retrieved from the river. Those articles included police statements mentioning that they did not suspect foul play because she had a history of mental health issues and because she attempted suicide in the past. That was never confirmed. Reporting personal information about a victim publicly is extremely problematic and can lead to the stigmatization of missing people, as well as prompt fatigue of empathy or reduce compassion for a missing person. After Wilma was found, the next wave of articles published about her case mainly focused on the lack of communication and mismanagement of her case by the Portland Police Bureau. Her case highlights local policing flaws in MMIP cases. The third case, and final one I want to draw attention to, is about Emily Pike, a 14-year-old member of the San Carlos Apache. Emily was found dismembered, partially found, as part of her is still missing, and she was dismembered and left in trash bags along the side of a rural road. Her case has sparked an outcry across Indian country regarding safety and treatment of our kids in group homes, as it is believed that she left and was trying to get back to her family on her reservation. Her case was mentioned several times across the country on local media outlets and on one national news outlet. And because her case is so horrendous and because she was so young, it has been shared widely on social media within tribal communities across the country. However, when I've mentioned her case to Metro colleagues, the majority of them were unaware. Her case highlights disparities in coverage. This phenomenon, known as to some scholars who refer to it as missing white women syndrome, referring to the disproportionate media attention given to missing white women, often at the expense of women of color. While Emily Pike's case did receive some coverage, it did not achieve the same level of national attention as similar cases involving white victims. And a study by the Urban Indian Health Institute found that more than 95% of MMIP cases lack media coverage entirely. I'm sharing these MMIP stories with you and the issues related to their media coverage because violence against Native people is a political issue, and a lack of dialogue and a lack of reporting leads the general public to have an inaccurate understanding of this issue, especially as over 2/3 of the cases that happen in urban areas like ours are rendered invisible. Inappropriate representation of victims is a political issue because we are not acknowledging tribal sovereignty and self-determination and how the US government cultivated many of the barriers and policies and stigmas of this epidemic, and that we are now seeking to remedy those. And avoiding this truth is what will keep us from policy reform at the national, state, regional, and local level. So what can we do? I know Metro does not center social services and doesn't do storytelling necessarily in the media, but we should make sure that all the stories we do produce ensures that Indigenous people are included and accurately represented and not presented in harmful ways. Metro's work is preventative as an upstream protective factor as we strive in providing safe places to live. And since we do this work that connects to this issue, we should make sure we appropriately and actively include Native people when it comes to consultation and engagement in this work. We don't want to further Native and Indigenous people by unintentionally not including them in the work we do. Thank you, and I will pass it on to Katie McDonald.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Felicia, Stephanie, and Willow for your presentations. As I share these comments, maybe I can ask our staff affinity group to return to the seating. Stephanie, if you can stay up and help us run a table clock, we'll ask our community partners to step up to prepare for their testimony for you. So council, our staff mentioned a 2018 report by the Urban Indian Health Institute. And I want to reference that report and something that they shared that's really problematic and profound. So in that report, they share that when Native people go missing, they actually disappear 3 times over. The first time that they disappear is when they are lost or harmed. The second time they disappear is when they are not accurately captured in the data. And the third time they disappear is when the media renders them further invisible from any news coverage or reporting. I hope our presentation this morning from staff has illustrated for you just how that can happen with some examples of local people that our community really cares about, people across the country that their communities cared about, and with some of the laws and policies that we described. You and others might wonder how this directly connects to Metro, but we definitely see linkages as our Native staff group. And Stephanie just stole a little bit of my thunder here. But each day we have an opportunity for proper data collection in our work, such as how our efforts to fund affordable and safe housing services in the greater Portland region are reaching the urban Native community. We also have an opportunity to repair harm and rebuild trust with tribes in the Native community so that they feel comfortable sharing critical data with us as their partner. This trust building shows up in the big actions of our agency and the small efforts of our staff on a day-to-day basis when we show up for our Indigenous partners and community. Each day, we also have an opportunity to ensure that our Metro-led storytelling and collaborations with the media are elevating and respectfully and appropriately including Indigenous peoples and Indigenous voices, as Stephanie just mentioned. We can use to also act as an ally and advocate for greater visibility for our neighbors, tribes, and the urban Native community in the news in the greater Portland area. The topics that we've brought to you this morning are only several of many in a tangled web that has created and perpetuated this epidemic. Our strategic plan to advance racial equity calls on us to elevate the voices of those most impacted by the issue. And today, to ensure that you have that opportunity, we have several members of the urban Native community in Portland to give testimony to you. So I'd like to introduce Whitney Watson, Kimberly Stewart, and Polimana Joshavama, who are all going to give testimony this morning. And Poli, please feel free to correct me if I mispronounce that. I apologize. Members of our team are going to help each of you with a 3-minute timer at the table to share your remarks with council.
Thank you, Katie.
Welcome.
Metro Council President Peterson and Metro Councilors, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak and provide public testimony this morning on the missing and murdered Indigenous people epidemic. For the record, my name is Whitney Watson. I am a Nupiaq from the native village of Kotzebue and Mexican on my maternal side, and a descendant of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa and the Omaha Tribe of Nebraska on my paternal side. I currently serve as the Policy Mode Lead for the Future Generations Collaborative, a collective impact partnership between Native serving and Native-specific organizations, institutions, governments, and community members. Additionally, I have also had the opportunity to serve on the PDX MMIR Planning Committee, a group organized to bring awareness and action to the missing and murdered Indigenous relative epidemic. Throughout the month of May, there are several events taking place in the Portland metro area, and I would like to uplift these as opportunities for continued engagement and support of the efforts from our local Native community. The Portland metropolitan area has the 9th largest urban Native population in the United States, and yet Native women, girls, Two-Spirit, and LGBTQIA+ individuals go missing or are murdered at disproportionately high rates with little response from public systems. MMIR is a national crisis with deep local impacts. Disappearances occur in urban areas like Portland, Gresham, and Beaverton, not just on reservations. Community advocates describe the crisis as a legacy of generations of government policies of forced removal, land seizures, and violence inflicted on Native people. Legacies of settler colonialism and white supremacy continue to shape present-day systematic inequities that contribute to the MMIP crisis and the lack of accountability for perpetrators of these crimes. Jurisdictional barriers, significant gaps in data, and lack of culturally specific services for Native American crime victims who live outside of tribal lands oftentimes result in community members, families, and survivors taking the lead in searching and advocating for our relatives. Metro's regional policies on housing, transportation, and public safety can directly influence outcomes for Indigenous communities. Metro has the opportunity to continue and to deepen its support for the Native community through supporting MMIP data collection efforts, funding Native-led solutions that provide support and offer services like victim advocacy, prevention programs, and family resources, and ensuring Indigenous voices are included in planning and decision-making. The missing and murdered Indigenous relatives crisis impacts us all, and Metro has the opportunity to use its platform to not only bring awareness, but to take actionable steps in ending this epidemic and bringing justice for the victims, survivors, and families within our community. I sincerely appreciate your time and consideration and look forward to continued collaboration. Thank you. Thank you.
And now we'll have Kimberly.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Linning Smart. Sorry. I'm the founder of MMIW Search and Hope Alliance. We're a boots-on-the-ground organization driven by dedication, heart, and tireless efforts of volunteers and families of the missing and murdered Indigenous people. We do body remains and recovery, water searches, we search for our missing, we advocate for our murdered, and we stand beside families during the most devastating moments of their lives. When you are tasked with searching for your own people's dead bodies, whether the addict on the street, the business professional, an elder, or heartbreakingly a child, it reminds me of how much the crisis of MMIWP has been pushed to the side here in Oregon and surrounding areas. Our organization is entirely run on volunteers. I personally fund our operations. There are currently no special funding programs in the Pacific Northwest that specifically support MMIWP-focused groups such as ours. Despite that, we provide all of our services 100% free to families. Today, I speak to bring attention to the ongoing and urgent MMIWP crisis, the systemic issues Native communities face daily, from addiction to domestic violence, poverty, inadequate education, and substandard educational practices. These challenges compound create a devastating reality. Our young people are especially vulnerable, often being coerced into trafficking and exploitation. If we don't act now, we risk the erasure of Native voices and Native lives. There is a glaring lack of media coverage, and Indigenous individuals go missing or murdered. Justice for our people is too often delayed or denied. To this day, Oregon has no official database for missing Indigenous persons. We are left to sift through the general state databases, often finding errors, missing names, or outdated information. As of now, there are 27 open cases of missing Indigenous people in Oregon and 128 open cases in Washington, some unsolved for decades. When we reach out to certain law enforcement agencies, we are often met with resistance. Cases are mishandled, misfiled, photographs are mismatched, and officials neglect to follow up or disregard us. When I ask, how can we educate others? How can we foster understanding and create unity beyond our own community if nobody listens, if no one takes time to see us? How can we create the hard conversations that need to be had without overshadowing the MMIWP crisis? If this silence continues, the Native communities risk fading into the shadows, being reduced to echoes of the past. But I refuse, and we refuse to be silenced as a people. Or our organization lives by this motto: not forgotten, not silent, not stopping. I and every single one of our volunteers remain committed to being a voice for the voices. We will not stop being a voice for the voiceless. We will continue to work so the future generations of Indigenous people can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. And now we'll invite Polly to share her comments.
Thanks, Katie. Metro Council President Peterson and Metro Councilors, thank you for providing us the opportunity to provide public testimony on the missing and murdered Indigenous relatives epidemic. Nupoli mana Josh Remy yan hopi matsiwa yep evil ko pepper spray. Itan tawawongwang kamong kopianka Tucson, Arizona. My name is Polimana Josh Rema, and I'm Hopi, and this is my service dog, Pepper Spray. I'm the Research and Evaluation, aka Data Mode Lead for the Future Generations Collaborative, and today I would like to bring attention to the unique situations that the urban Native diaspora has influenced. The following definition was created after a year-long community needs and readiness assessment for our Early Childhood Program's Tribal Home Visiting Program. Definition: the urban Native diaspora, the dispersion of Indigenous people who still retain significant connections to their former homelands across America to urban areas due to colonization. It is well known within the Native community that the urban Native population faces a unique set of challenges as we don't have the full privileges of tribal sovereignty, primarily because we are not living on our designated reservations, which were often created out of prisoner of war camps or through coercive treaties. We didn't cross the borders crossed us. MMIR is not just a statistic, it's a direct result of policies that devalue Indigenous lives. The unique political, racial, ethnic, and environmental aspects that contribute to being an urban native is something not seen in any other diasporic group. The brutal enforcement of borders creates jurisdictional barriers and a lack of communication between local, state, and federal agencies, which directly contributes to the lack of ability to track trafficking. Despite Savannah's Act being passed in 2020, the state of Oregon is still not in compliance. During last year's MMIR Planning Committee's attempt at a public art installation of missing posters, we learned how non-standardized the missing flyers are, with some not even including a picture of the person. The middle of a crisis is not the time to be trying to figure out what information you need to put out to increase the chances of your relative being found. There is currently no existing database for community members to cross-reference MMIR cases in the Portland metro area, so the FGC is going to make one. We recently received a grant from the City of Portland to not only provide classes to our community about digital literacy, especially regarding online trafficking of our youth, but also have work sessions with participants to dream up an MMIR database for the state of Oregon. In memory of Emily Pike, we will be calling this the Pike Project. Just yesterday, it was publicly released that her sexual assault was never submitted for review to the U.S. Attorney's Office. This is a high-profile case, and these mishandlings are still happening. The Native community has pleaded with governmental institutions since the beginning of settler colonialism to address this matter in various ways, and this speech carries no more weight than the cries of my ancestors for their missing and murdered relatives since the beginning of colonization. So I leave you with a few questions that I pray you reflect on. How are you going to support this work? What are you going to do about the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous relatives on a personal level? In your position here at Metro, what are you going to do about this? Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. President Peterson and councilors, this concludes our staff presentation and community testimony. Reflecting on the conversation that we've had this morning, we aren't ever going to have healing unless we have action by the people and also by the government, which is why we brought the people here to be with you and talk to you here this morning. I know that not all of our programs and services at Metro connect with some of the law enforcement and social services issues that have been discussed in today's program, but we see an opportunity for you all to be allies with us and help us elevate these needs and messages in the spaces that you're in with the folks who do have the power and the resources to take action. So thank you, and I'll hand it back to you, President Peterson.
Thank you, and thank you to all of you for the stories and the questions and the ideas that have been put forward in the call to action. So I just want to say thank you to that. All of it was extremely powerful to me, and before I open it up to council for any questions or observations, I guess I would just like to ask everybody to take a deep breath and take a moment before we move on. Are we breathing? So the personal stories and observations and recommendations, as I said, are important for council to hear. They're deeply painful to hear, especially, I'll just say from my personal experience, when you brought up the media coverage, having had my cousin missing and murdered, and the national coverage that received and how that is not followed up for all people. So it resonated with me. I'd also like to thank the community partners who are here in the audience today. Thank you so much for being here to sit with and support the presentations and the coffee hour this morning. And to the staff who are sprinkled throughout, just thank you for being here to hear this important discussion and hear and make connections to the work that you're doing from the call to action. As you said, Katie, we don't directly have public safety underneath us, and we are certainly working on trying to reform the public health services portion that we oversee for supportive housing services, which is a good connection to make. But we still, as you said, have a platform And I think you all just had a platform. And I'm glad that we are able to give this open space and coverage to you to make sure that the voices are heard. And obviously, we have a lot to do with storytelling coming up with things that we've heard and want to raise up as part of our daily work. So I think those are my takeaway observations, and I appreciate, again, everybody's courage to come forward. And please do not ever feel silenced in these chambers. We really want to hear your voices and your stories so that it doesn't happen again. Counselors, any questions or comments? Counselor Nolan, who is virtual.
Thank you, Madam President. And even virtual, I can feel the depth and sincerity and outrage that your presentations encompassed, and a little bit of shame that these conditions, this epidemic continues, and the attention to it has not been able to raise it to a level where it demands to be resolved. I will continue to share your stories, your reality in places where it can change public safety, judicial processes, data centers that you have all talked about. And I will personally continue to advocate for an understanding, a remorse, and a remediation on a personal level. Thank you for your courage in sharing your stories with us.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Lewis.
Sure, thank you. I want to first begin not only thanking our staff, Willow and Katie, Stephanie, but our guests, Kimberly, Whitney, Poli, thank you. Extremely powerful voices in this chamber. The power of this chamber is often looked at as this half of the room, but it's that half. As you've highlighted, government has a history of cultivating the stigmas and barriers that perpetuate violence, gendered violence, and of course, racial and identity-based violence. Beyond just stating the problem and the disparities that data could highlight, we've heard about the power of narrative and using the bully pulpit. We're doing that today. Thinking through how to use my voice. It's uncomfortable because it's your voices that need to be heard, but sometimes I'm the one with the microphone. So I'll be looking forward as we're working particularly on housing, offering services, providing stability. Where can I share the microphone? As we're out in community at events, where are there places to invite you all to the table? And in particular, in our policies, asking you to highlight the places where there are those intersections, even though we don't necessarily always see them rise when we're working on things like the convention center or parks. I would like to ask Kimberly if you could take a few more moments. Your passion and dedication to the MMIW Search and Hope Alliance came through. You were a little bit on a clock, but earlier we spoke in depth about what you do. And if you'd take a moment just to let everybody in this room know how they can support you, because you've taken on so much as an individual in leading this organization, in working a volunteer network that is really uplifting across our region, across our state, across the Pacific Northwest. just anything else you'd like to share. I know you have an event coming up. How can we as individuals show up for you?
That's just it. Show up. When we have searches and we're missing for an individual, show up. Help us search. If you physically can't do the walking, like in the city or public transportation stuff, what helps is when people stay back and set up like that check-in station. So as our volunteers are coming back from search, they can return the vests, they can return whatever flyers maybe they haven't handed out. The event on Saturday is a big event, and you'll hear stories from people of family members who have been murdered and who have missing family members currently. You'll hear from the Alcazar family, and he's one of the gentlemen they have pulled out of the Willamette River in the last 3 weeks. So showing up, and you put it all into one sentence. What can you do to support our organization? Is just showing up and saying, hey, we know this organization. You know, when kids go missing in the middle of the night, I work nights, but sometimes I get up before I gotta go to work and we go look for those kids, and I have to call people sometimes like, hey, I can't hit the streets by myself, can you come with me? So again, it's showing up.
How do we get on that list? Is there a mailing list? Is there a social media? Do I put my number on your phone?
I do have a social media. It's MMIW Search and Hope Alliance. I know it's a mouthful, and but it's right now, because it's just me going about it, Facebook's free. So that's what I've been using. And please join that. And the email is the same at yahoo.com.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Counselor Simpson.
Thank you, President Peterson. First, I want to start off by thanking Felicia, Stephanie, and Willow for sharing, really grounding us back into the reality, your reality that is impacted on your community. And I want to especially thank Katie for her wisdom, her leadership, her tenderness as she approaches this. I haven't met a kinder spirit or a more fiercer advocate for this work, so thank you. To Whitney, Polly, and Kimberly, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to our guests, I see you, JR. Thank you for being here with us. I really appreciate you. As I sit with this topic, when I reflect on it, it's hard for me to listen because of our past as communities. We share similar paths in some respects, and in others we don't. But when it comes to trauma, particularly in this space, it's one that hits home and hits hard. But I feel the rage. I feel the silence, the tone deafness. I feel it. I hear it. And as an ally, as a partner, and as a friend, I'm always one, with your permission, to elevate these stories, these experiences that are impacting folks. But then how do I hold my other not these colleagues, right? But when I look across jurisdictions, how do I look at those folks and say, hey, you in government too. How do you follow our example? So that's my work to figure out, not for y'all. But I'm hoping that I can take these stories back with me as I share across jurisdictional agencies. One thing that came up for me, though, really was about the media. Again, thank you for sharing that. It's not uplifted. Women of color, I was raised by them. They birthed me. But they are never elevated to the space they need to be when horrible things happen in their lives and impact our communities. This is more so a question for our Native, and I hate to hit y'all with a question. It's not a hard one, though. For our Native staff affinity group, how can we, through our comms channels, through best practices that you've seen or experienced, get these stories or what's happening in community out there so folks can know? Not just when we get it through the meltwater, but on the Instagram, on the internet, how do we help promote that, and what's the best way of doing that?
Stephanie, I wonder if you might be able to mention a couple of the resources that we found online from different organizations that we might be able to share with our communications department to help with the respectful and inclusive coverage?
Yeah, there's some, first off, it's really hard to say their names. So thanks for giving us this opportunity to remember people and to keep their stories relevant. I think that, you know, like figuring out ways to support families, and every case is gonna be different. But there's like 1 page, 2 page, like journalism best practices, media best practices, making relationships with tribal communities, how to approach tribal communities and be respectful to their families before putting media coverage out there. Like we could share those resources with local news outlets that Metro publishes with. And I don't know what those relationships are, but maybe we can work with communications on spreading those resources with anyone that are, anytime we have news coming to our events, like just to have that protocol and practice of talking to people before we're putting them out there in the news. And then maybe, you know, working with programs like hers and figuring out how to support their efforts, and figuring out how to support families when they're not being heard, and just making sure that, or asking if they're respectfully being acknowledged when their families, when they're out there, then they're looking for their families, not misrepresenting what they're saying. And reminding journalists to ask questions to clarify what I'm hearing from you. With Wilma's case, I think I read a lot of issues later on of how somebody said she had mental health struggles, but there wasn't a lot of acknowledgement of the fact that she was seen leaving a bar on camera and that men were following her. That wasn't really mentioned. It was a lot of focus on she had these mental health problems and she'll probably come up later, and there wasn't a lot of effort going towards her case. And so, you know, really being mindful about how we're talking about individuals when we're working with media. That could be like a best practice or recommendations that we try to share when we're having public events, being mindful and approaching our work.
I appreciate that, Stephanie. I do want to uplift that too. Like, you know, when people are victims, we oftentimes don't, the media does not address them as such. They are either the accuser or something. And to your point, it's gross. It's just gross. I would like for our communication staff to follow up with you to get those best practices so that they can incorporate them in how they do business from henceforth moving forward.
Yeah, I think there's organizations that like journalism's like Unity of Journalism for Justice, or I need to look up the names, but you know, who are usually journalism scholars who have talked about issues of misrepresentation or lack of representation, and how that just continues to perpetuate stereotypes. Again, dehumanizing the individual. So yeah, I'll put together some stuff and follow up with Katie and see who she works with in comms.
Thank you so much.
Medicine, did you want to weigh in? Yeah, all right. Councilor Rosenthal and then Juan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for your powerful presentation. It's really quite moving. You also reminded me of the complexity of the problem, particularly the legal aspects of the complexity of the problem because of the jurisdictions, and I think that's a hard thing to do. As someone who grew up in the area of the Midwest tribes, as did President Peterson and Councilor Huang, years ago, you remember these issues were not even discussed. They were just not talked about. So I am encouraged in a certain sense by the fact that are now bringing this to us. And so keeping this issue alive and bringing it to our attention periodically so that we don't forget it and so that we are able to go out and talk to the communities that we represent regarding this. And I trust that Katie will continue to prod us when necessary with the appropriate actions. And I think that's good. I have 3 questions that I'd like to ask. One is sort of a trivial question, partly because I've lived in some of the cities. Am I correct in assuming that cities with the highest indigenous urban populations would be Minneapolis and Seattle? And then my other questions are there specific community events that you can identify coming up that that people should know about, that they can participate in? And a third question has to do with, is there anything going on in the current legislature that would impact this and be a positive impact, that's something that we should be supporting more than we are.
Thank you, Counselor Rosenthal, for the questions. I might switch up the order to help
Sure.
with ease of responses. I think we can try to pull the information about where the largest urban Indian centers are in the United States. Many of those urban Indian centers are the result of earlier federal Indian relocation policy that put tribal folks from their home tribal communities into big cities under the guise and promise of a better life, formal job training, and better opportunities for their families, but actually usually meant just a one-way bus ticket with no resources, where folks were then essentially sent somewhere, left there, and had no way to get home. Despite that policy, we have many urban Indian communities across the United States, like Portland, that today have very thriving communities with many thriving Native community-based organizations. We have over 20 in Portland, including Future Generations Collaborative. We have some staff from NAIA who were here earlier today, just to name a few. But we can follow up on that information. And then I'd like to actually invite Whitney maybe to talk about one of the bills in the legislature currently with the Oregon Health Authority. And after that response, then maybe Whitney and Kimberly, you both could share a little bit about the events that you're involved in. Thanks.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you, Counselor, for your question. One bill that's currently in the Oregon legislature right now is House Bill 3198, and I'm going to read a little bit of information about it. The House Bill 3198 amendment directs the Oregon Health Authority to dedicate staff to addressing the missing and murdered Indigenous people epidemic in Oregon through providing victim services and outreach, development of interagency agreements with tribal governments, and maintenance on data on missing and murdered Indigenous people in the state. This is in collaboration with the representatives of the 9 federally recognized tribes in Oregon to implement community education and support youth engagement initiatives. This bill is currently in Ways and Means right now. We've been tracking it as an organization and as the PDX MMIR committee to bring awareness to it. And so support on House Bill 3198 would be helpful. Thank you. We are also having an event on May 5th, which is the National Day of Awareness and Action. And that is going to be starting at noon at
The Oregon Convention Center Plaza Park, just right out here across the road.
Exactly.
Kimberly, go ahead and share.
Our event is Saturday, May 3rd. The doors will open at 8:30 a.m. Speakers and opening ceremony will start at 10 a.m. and 10:30 our families will start speaking. There will be free community lunch for everybody until the food runs out. And then after that, there is also a lunchtime live music from a Nez Perce flute player. And then afterwards, there will be 3 other presentations, one on anti-trafficking, one on a labor issue that impacts the MMIWP movement, and one on Native men's redemption.
And just to follow up regarding the May 5th event that we are having, it's titled the MMIR Day of Action and Awareness, and like Katie said, is at the Convention Center Plaza Park. We'll be having food as well, a panel, Kimberly actually joining us to speak. And so we hope to see you all there, and it's open to community.
So there are 2 events, the 3rd and the 5th?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll also plug our Instagram, it's at the Future Generations Collaborative, and we'll have tons of the rest of the month's events posted on there as well, because there are a lot of community groups and orgs who are putting together things, so you can track them there too.
And I apologize that I didn't add our location. It will be at Nara Northwest in Gresham, the old Oregon Department of Human Services building off Eastman Parkway and Division.
What was that Instagram handle?
I can send it to you afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll get everybody's Instagrams and Facebooks.
There you go.
And flyers.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Counselor.
Great, thank you, Madam President, and Gosh, yeah, I just want to, appreciate you coming and all the stories. I sit here and I just want to hear and feel the full weight of everything that you're saying. And also thanks for those calls to action. Kimberly, I just signed up for your Facebook group, so hopefully I'll be able to come
Real time.
volunteer in real time.
Accept.
But yeah, it's just such a powerful experience to hear these stories, especially because we don't get the chance to read about it as much as we need to in the press. So oftentimes this is the first time that, these stories are coming to my awareness, at least. I know that data is often the cornerstone of some really powerful advocacy. And I was really struck by how there's no official database. That is just mind-boggling to me. And I know we talked about, that lack of representation in media, but that data is also a critical piece. And, I just would love to learn a bit more about the Pike Project and what is the role the city's playing and sorry, this question is probably for you, Polly, but what can we do? We have a really amazing data team and they're great at databases. And we also have all these kind of other initiatives where we want to create community-driven databases for policy and advocacy. So I'm just wondering if there's some way to collaborate and support and, if that's needed. And so what can we do on the data front? And also, are there databases in other regions or states? It just seems so, I just can't understand why that hasn't happened here or elsewhere.
Yeah, thank you for those questions. We're still in the early development phases. We literally just received the grant from City of Portland, and it's less than 100,000. I think we're around 100,000. So our budget is very stretched in order to reach certain goals for sure. But the project is so important to the FGC. We're very good at turning $1 into 10. So funding sources are always appreciated. I think especially for community members who are going to be spending their time working on this project, they deserve to be paid too. There's that aspect. I think getting in contact with any of your data people who would be interested in helping us out. This will be my first time coding a database, so any assistance with that is great. And connections with the people who run the current databases. Everything, like Kimberly said, everything is very disjointed. There's a national missing persons database, there's an Oregon State database, but nothing talks to each other. Helping to facilitate any of those connections, if you know people, would be very helpful. Yeah, I think that's what I got. In other places, there are a few community projects that have created similar things, but nothing to the extent that we will be trying to do.
Okay. I know we're having a similar conversation on data right now with, our supportive housing conversation. So I think and we're also having some conversations around PNW Northwest Vitals for that community-driven database. So I'm hoping maybe we can all sit down and think about how we put our heads together. But thank you for coming in, and hopefully to see you soon.
Thank you, Councilor Wong, and we will help connect the FGC team with the Data and Research Center and the Planning, Development, and Research Department and other staff who might be able to help with mapping, help share some in-kind resources, lessons learned, and expertise.
Well, just closing out, thank you again for coming forward, raising your voice. It was pretty powerful, and I just want to acknowledge again the amount of courage and energy and just personal stamina to be able to come up and have that shared with a lot of folks. So thank you. We are going to adjourn for 5 minutes. As we do so, I would encourage you to meet outside in the lobby because we will reconvene pretty quickly here. and voices do carry. So I want you to celebrate this moment and take the time while you're all here together. But if we could just move it out into the lobby, that would be great. All right, so we'll adjourn for 5 minutes. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you again.
Recording stopped.
Your settle.
All right, we will reconvene. And counselors, this morning we have 3 resolutions before us today. Resolution number 25-5478, for the purpose of adopting the federal legislative agenda for the 119th Congress. Following up on our work session a few weeks ago, we were considering adoption of Metro's federal affairs legislative agenda. The agenda consists of values and principles that guide our staff's advocacy in the nation's capital, as well as priorities that represent Metro's specific legislative goals for the current Congress. Here to provide a brief overview of the legislative agenda, as informed by council feedback, is our federal affairs advisor, Betsy Emery. Betsy, good morning.
Good morning, Metro councilors. For the record, I'm Betsy Emery, Federal Affairs Advisor. Next slide. Today, I will be following up on your discussion about the draft federal legislative agenda during the April 17th work session. I've incorporated your feedback into the revised version that is before you today for consideration. I will provide a recap of the overarching legislative values and principles, as well as the more specific legislative priorities that are outlined in the federal agenda. I will also highlight the specific changes that resulted from our prior discussions. Next slide. As a reminder, the federal legislative agenda is divided into 2 sections. The first section defines council's overarching values and policy principles for topic areas that align with Metro's work. These are meant to be evergreen guiding principles for legislative affairs staff to rely on as opportunities arise throughout the congressional session. The second portion defines Metro's session-specific legislative priorities that the federal affairs staff anticipate movement on. The legislative priorities are strategic and targeted federal advocacy goals that will comprise much of the federal affairs work plan for the 119th Congress. We also know that any legislative space is dynamic and opportunities will arise to work on items that are not listed in the priority document. And we will be responsive to those opportunities as guided by your legislative values and policy principles. Next slide. As I mentioned, the first section of the agenda defines council's overarching legislative values. These values serve as a lens through which we approach all of our federal advocacy and reflect our agency's longstanding commitments. After meeting with many of you over the past few months, there are 2 additions this year. We've added a new value related to maintaining adequate agency staffing and funding levels. And after the work session discussion, this value has been amended to reference specific federal agencies that Metro works closely with, including the Department of Transportation, Housing and Urban Development, Environmental Protection Agency, Fish and Wildlife Service, and the Army Corps of Engineers. This is in response to the large reductions in workforce that we've seen at many agencies and concerns about potential downstream effects to Metro's work and the region's priority projects that we partner on. Also, in response to increased immigration enforcement activity, the updated legislative agenda includes specific support for immigrant communities. Next slide. A bit more targeted, the federal legislative principles are evergreen guiding principles that allow federal affairs staff to operate nimbly as bills and topics emerge during the 2-year congressional session. There are 3 to 6 principles within each topic area that largely reflect Metro's broader policy goals for each of our departments. We do not have time to go through each principle individually, but I've listed a few of them here to give you a flavor. Next slide. The proposed legislative priorities are a narrow, targeted list of session-specific legislative concepts that federal affairs staff will prioritize and build a strategy around. These are concepts that staff anticipates possible federal movement on, and with strong and focused advocacy, potential ability to influence outcomes. Given that the current tax package expires at the end of the year, there are a lot of negotiations underway about a new one. This is one of the biggest priorities on the Hill right now. The legislative agenda defines 2 priorities for Metro to advocate for in that package. First, it is to reform the low-income housing tax credit to increase the number of private activity bonds that our state receives. There's broad bipartisan support for this proposal, and a bill was actually introduced earlier this week to do this exact thing, introduced and sponsored by our entire Oregon delegation yet again, so hopefully there will be movement there. The other advocacy priority included within the tax package is to maintain the tax exempt status of municipal bonds. As you know, municipal bonds are a critical financing tool, and changing their tax exempt status could have dramatic effects to Metro and our local government partners. Congress also needs to negotiate a surface transportation reauthorization bill because the bipartisan infrastructure law expires in September 2026. These negotiations are also already underway in both chambers. And Federal Affairs staff is working with JPAC to prepare a set of regional priorities that will guide our advocacy on this topic. Their draft priorities currently include support for maintaining level funding for key grant and formula programs. This includes specific reference to the FTA Capital Investment Grant Program, considering how many regional priority projects are in its pipeline and will be seeking funding. It also includes support for emphasizing safety and multimodal investments over traditional road, bridge, and highway infrastructure. Another federal priority is to maintain federal support for the zoo's California Condor breeding program. This program is a component of a larger endangered species recovery effort that is facilitated by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The federal agency directs breeding and release activities and provides technical support throughout all stages of the breeding process. The zoo also receives U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service funding for this program. Given the administration's efforts to reduce government spending and scale back environmental regulations, including those that are related to the Endangered Species Act, it feels especially important to advocate for the continued federal partnership in our Condor program. Lastly, Metro is making a lot of progress in preparing remediation plans for Willamette Cove. This property has a complex web of Superfund designations with different state and federal cleanup requirements. As we finalize remediation plans for our property, we will need support navigating the federal regulatory requirements to fund and execute this cleanup project. Next slide. I am looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this proposed legislative agenda and the specific priorities I've presented. Are there any that you would like to change? Are there any additional topics that you would like to explore positions on before adoption? And with that, I will open it for discussion. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Counselors, any comments or suggestions? Counselor Rosenthal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question, I guess, is what is our primary fear that's going to happen with the Willamette Cove cleanup? Is that either the Corps of Engineers or EPA, or the EPA is just going to cease to be a partner in moving forward and just not authorize progress or particular plans? Is that the big issue? And then, of course, I would like to see a policy on the protection of federal lands, but I realize that's not a Metro issue. But that's just me personally.
Thank you for the question, Councilor Rosenthal. As I'm sure you all are very well aware, Willamette Cove is quite a complex property. I've been working in natural resources and land management for 15 years. I've never seen a property as complex as that property, just in terms of the many different designations that exist on it. And because of the kind of overlapping Venn diagram of Superfunds that exist on it, that brings a lot of different agencies to the table in terms of what has to happen to coordinate cleanup. And so there's definitely a need to be engaging really deeply with the state agencies, DSL, DEQ, all of them for the in-water cleanup component of the project. But really the federal partner is EPA. There has been a lot of shift, I would say, in what EPA's focus has been since the change in administration. But I will also say that the agency released their 100-day action report yesterday. Many agencies put out a press release listing out explicitly 100 bullet points of actions. And EPA had one, and I think 15 of those actions were related to brownfield cleanup and Superfund movement. What that movement really means behind the bullet, I am not sure, but it definitely does appear that there is movement happening on brownfields and Superfunds. And so hopefully we can maintain that momentum and really bring EPA in on as a partner in that work, because it is significant cleanup that we will need their help with.
So there is some positive, shall we say, perspective that we might get from them.
Yeah, I would like to. Yeah, I haven't received negative signals. We'll put it that way.
Thank you. That's all we can hope for.
Thank you, Councilor Huang.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Betsy, for all the work that you're doing on behalf of our region and in the agency. I hear a lot from, folks doing business or in housing production that it's just really hard to make decisions or do anything due to so much kind of unpredictability around certain policies or, trade measures. And I'm wondering what you think might be the value of having a principle around increasing predictability for the ability to work on housing and other construction, and then just in the general business sense. Does that make sense? It's just
Yeah.
no one wants to make any decisions right now because we have no idea what's going to happen. And I think to me that's one of the biggest challenges right now for our region is just no one wants to build, no one wants to do anything because it might be more expensive later, or it's hard to do business. So
Yeah.
is there anything we can say or do about that?
Thank you for that comment, Counselor Wong. Yes, I agree. I think that there's just a broad uncertainty and hesitancy around all of these various swings back and forth in policy, whether we're thinking about tariffs and trade being, implemented and then pulled back and then changed and then amended and then implemented. There's just so much question, and those affect every aspect of our economy for sure. From a business perspective, from a building perspective, a development perspective, everything, right? We do have principles within the document that are related to expanding affordable housing production, making affordable housing financing easier, unlocking financing tools that can be hard to access, for example, the PAB threshold and things like that, making LIHTC more usable. And so it's kind of getting at that, but not in an explicit way of saying that we need stability in our economy. That's something that we could explore a principle around in the section related to economic prosperity, because it is kind of an all of economy thing. And so if that's something that you and your colleagues feel really strongly about, we can pursue that as an additional specific thing within it.
Sure. Something worth exploring. I think that's really what's one of the issues holding back kind of regional growth and development for our region, but everywhere, right? So.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Good work.
Thank you. All right, do I have a motion for resolution number 25-5478?
So moved.
Is there a second? Been moved by Counselor Simpson and seconded by Counselor Rosenthal. Any further discussion, counselors? Seeing none, Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Nolan.
Yes.
Counselor Rosenthal.
Aye.
Counselor Wong.
Aye.
Counselor Simpson.
Aye.
Counselor Lewis.
Aye.
Council President Peterson.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you on it. All right. We will move on to resolution number 25-5483 for the purpose of approving the fiscal year 2025-26 budget, setting property tax levies, and transmitting the approved budget to the Multnomah County Tax Supervising and Conservation Commission. This resolution, we are acting in our role as Metro's Budget Committee. Our Chief Operating Officer, Marisa Madrigal, first presented the proposed budget on April 10th. We held a public hearing at that time and received no testimony. Council has been acting as the Budget Committee, held 2 work sessions on the budget on April 15th and 22nd. And the budget before us has been updated to reflect changes in funding as compared to the version presented April 10th. I will now turn it over to our Chief Operating Officer, Marisa Madrigal, and our Chief Financial Officer, Cinnamon Williams, Financial Planning Director. Oh, did I just upgrade you? I believe so. We gave you both titles. Yes. Cinnamon Williams is here on behalf of Brian Kennedy, our Chief Financial Officer, as the Financial Planning Director, to describe those changes and answer any questions you have. Marisa.
Sure. Good afternoon. Thank you, Council President Peterson, for my temporary upgrade, and the rest of Metro councilors. We're here to to approve your proposed budget. We do have two adjustments to that proposed budget for you to consider to approve. That is our recommendation. They are non-departmental adjustments. One of them is for us to move money from contingency into special appropriations in our general asset management fund. This is a non-departmental change. I believe that Andy Shaw from your GAPD has talked to you, most of you, about this. And this is just to give us flexibility to return state funds if requested. This is not a commitment to that actual action. The second one is we had a bond sale in the last couple of days of March when we already had put together the proposed budget. That changed a little bit from our financial advisory company by 0.01%, and we have to assess the appropriate levy for the bond. And so that is a $4,681 change. So it is our recommendation that we make those adjustments to the proposed budget for you to approve as the budget committee to move on to the next phase. And this is our this is the budget committee's approval, so we can have that approval once as the budget committee, and then we will give it to the TSCC there afterwards. And
Thank
we'll
you.
leave it open for you guys for questions.
Yes, councilors, any questions? Seeing no hands raised, virtually or in person. Do I have a motion for resolution number 25-5483?
I'll move 25.
I got some.
Oh,
I will second.
I'm sorry, I should have made that more specific. There's a specific wording that needs to be made.
okay.
Apologies. Deputy President Simpson has that language. I apologize.
No worries. I move to approve the budget for the 2025-26 fiscal year as detailed in resolution number 25-5483 in the amount of $1,855,194,431, and approve property taxes at the rate of 0.09666 cents per $1,000 of assessed value for the permanent rate tax levy in the amount of $0.0960 for the local option tax levy, and in the amount of $93,032,802 for the general obligation bond levy. That was a lot. I'm finished.
Is there a second, Councilor Lewis?
Garrett can do it.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Nolan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewis?
Aye.
Counselor Wong?
Aye.
Counselor Rosenthal?
Aye.
Counselor Simpson?
Aye.
Council President Peterson?
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated, Cinnamon. All right, I will now adjourn the meeting of the Budget Committee and gavel out as the Budget Committee and gavel back in as Metro Council. Resolution number 25-5492 is the next resolution for the purpose of providing up to $15 million to Multnomah County to support investment in City of Portland programs to address unsheltered homelessness. Councilors, our last resolution today follows on the heels of a change to Metro Code this council recently approved. Last month, we voted to authorize the distribution of administrative funds collected from the Supportive Housing Service measure to our local implementation partners on a one-time basis to improve services and fill gaps. To describe the need for distributing funds and an overview of proposed uses of those funds, please welcome our Metro Council Chief of Staff, Kristen Dennis.
Thank you, President Peterson. Again, for the record, my name is Kristen Dennis, and I'm the Chief of Staff to the Metro Council. Councilors, as President Peterson spoke about, I am coming to you again. You last saw me on April 17th when you approved the ordinance authorizing the use of these funds for this purpose. Since then, we've been in discussions with Multnomah County and the City of Portland around a potential investment to the City of Portland in their Portland Solutions Office, specifically their City Shelter Services Program. Council, you will remember that on February 4th, earlier this year, Mayor Wilson of the City of Portland came and spoke with you all about his plans with the City of Portland and requested some funding support. I'm pleased that we have some funds that are available. I want to emphasize that these are one-time only dollars because of kind of prudent budgeting, as well as increased revenue coming in. And as we ramped up the program, we have some funds that are available to use in this manner. The next step in this process will be an IGA that Metro will enter into with Multnomah County as our local implementation partner. And then on March 13th, Multnomah County Commission had already unanimously approved a resolution directing the transfer of those dollars to the City of Portland. And so then that second part of that transfer will happen between Multnomah County and the City of Portland. Happy to answer any questions.
Counselors, any questions? I just want to say thank you to staff for all the work in getting us to this point. And to Marisa, who is just for a moment left, and I want to acknowledge her, as well as our council. This was, of course, limited, one-time only carryover administrative funds from our program here. And I just want to thank everybody for being so nimble and quick as to be able to move this money through Multnomah County to the City of Portland to be able to fill a gap that the mayor has ran on and believe strongly is a very important part of being able to move as many people into homes over time and be able to basically have eyes on folks and start bringing them into a system that will hopefully be able to move them into more permanent housing over time. So thank you, colleagues, and go ahead.
Oh, sorry, one last thing I forgot to mention. We invited Skylar Brocker-Knapp, the director of the Portland Solutions Office, if there's any other questions as well.
So any questions for Skylar? Yes,
Just a
Counselor.
quick question. What is the timeline for disbursement and use of these funds?
I'm just going to ask Skylar to name and title for the record.
Skylar Brocker-Knapp, Director of Portland Solutions.
Thank you.
Councilor Rosenthal, that will be worked out in the details of the IGA, the kind of pace and how we will be deploying those funds based on need and as they're getting spent.
Counselor Wong?
No, just thank you, Madam President. No.
Sorry. I saw your hand
Yes,
up.
I did raise my hand. Thank you. Thanks for coming out, Skylar. I just wanted to appreciate, all the work that you've been doing, and just being responsive to, all our needs here at Metro as well. And really looking forward to supporting you and the mayor in this project.
Thank you. And Mayor wanted me to express his gratitude, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Lewis.
Sure, thank you so much for joining us. Just a question about your ability to work through measurement of the new initiative and what you expect the feedback and learning cycle loop to be, both as you get it stood up, but also as you report back to funders like us.
Absolutely. There will be, my understanding is metrics and KPIs that we will adhere to. We're also working with the county on their HMIS system. So anyone who enters a shelter basically that is funded by these funds would enter into the HMIS system, which will help us with data tracking. We are also engaged in incident command structure right now for the 2 overnight shelters that we stood up in January, getting real-time data every single day at 10 a.m. of who spent the night last night at those different shelters. So we really are able to track it in a different way than I've seen, frankly, in the last few years, working with different shelter systems, and it's much more real-time. So we're able to pivot pretty quickly. For example, one of those shelters is for women identifying individuals, and we've seen it be almost full every single night since it opened in January. So the need is great, and that tells us maybe we need some more of those shelter types. Maybe we need to expand that shelter. So we're really evaluating that on a daily basis.
Great, thank you. Councilor Simpson.
Thank you, President Peterson. Thank you. Real quick, I just wanted to ask, I know we don't have a timeline until we establish an IGA, but what does it look like for reporting? Because I would like you know, or a couple of us would like for you all to come and report back on those KPIs, and if you are having success or if you're not having success. We don't want you to just operate and keep operating and be like, oh, the $15 million is gone and we haven't done anything we set out to do. So are you gonna be coming back in front of us to report back?
Yes, I'm happy to. Yes. Yes.
Yes, Counselor Simpson, we've had, been having those questions frequently, and so we can work with council as to your preference on the cadence of those report backs. I know the mayor has expressed his interest in coming back and reporting back directly with you all, and so we will have the kind of formal requirements as part of the IGA, which is we will have with Multnomah County, and so then they will make sure to get that information from the city of Portland, and that's kind of specifically related to the data, which we will, as you'll recall, we also approved a data sharing agreement earlier, so that we will get that as part of the regular data collection that we have, and we'll be able to monitor. In addition, we can and will ask for some additional updates to this program specifically. The exciting thing about being able to make this type of investment is it's a strategic investment. Again, this is a unique and rare opportunity that we have, and so it's exciting that we're going to be able to kind of flex in this way, and so this is kind of something new, so we're going to be figuring out the best way to make this type of investment, and so I think that there will probably be some additional report backs that we might not otherwise have.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is unique and rare. And because of that, I would like for us to have close oversight and reporting. I don't want us to be 2 years down the line and we're just figuring out you didn't do what you need to do with the money.
Absolutely. Counselor, I had all of the reporting necessary kind of under the IGA, but in addition, I think we are happy to provide your office or you or come like once a month or however often you want. And we will, I mean, we have a daily spreadsheet, like I have the information, so I'm happy to share it. We are keeping pretty close tabs, frankly, on all of this work.
Thank you. Keep that energy. When it's time to report, I want you to report.
Got it.
All right.
Happy to.
Any other, Councilor Nolan.
Thanks, Madam President. I want to thank Kristen and Skylar for working to get this ready to bring to us. I also want to thank the city more generally, the Housing Bureau, I don't know if it's called a bureau anymore, and the mayor for acting with a sense of urgency and with a sense of trying to disrupt the conventional wisdom, if I might, about how to provide services. It's pretty clear to me that the homeless population is dealing with such a variety of circumstances that lead each of those individuals to be homeless that we need to try just as big a range of solutions. And this is one that's new. Getting the data on how it works is important, but I hope that that data ultimately ends up informing our sharing with our other partners, our other local government partners, ways that they might use the funds that the voters have approved in this program to more efficiently and effectively and long-term serve their communities, the homeless people, and the neighbors and businesses who are affected by the homelessness. So a thank you to the mayor, if you would carry that back, Skylar. Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to finding some success in this program that might be repeated and amplified around the region.
Thanks, Counselor.
I'll just wrap it up and say, I think there's a higher expectation. We're not singling you out for for KPIs, and I just want to thank you and the mayor for participating in the president's work group and bringing a lot of that energy that Councilor Simpson was just talking about to the positivity of that work group. I really feel like we're making good strides to get past some pretty basic measurements that don't give a full story of the successes and the changing needs and trends. So I just wanted to make sure you knew you're not being singled out. This is the entirety of the system that I think we all recognize needed a lot more intense time and thought of data collection, data use, and key performance metrics. So we appreciate you coming back and helping move that along in both settings.
Absolutely, President Peterson, thank you. And I think we're happy to be kind of a guinea pig too on trying to figure out kind of nimble data reporting. And we'll work with you, whatever you want, we can provide.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, do I have a motion on resolution number 25-5492?
I move adoption.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Counselor Nolan and seconded by Counselor Wong. Any further discussion, counselors? All right, Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Nolan.
Yes.
Counselor Rosenthal.
Yes.
Counselor Wong.
Aye.
Counselor Lewis.
Aye.
Counselor Simpson.
Aye.
Council President Peterson.
Aye, the motion passes. And I forgot to say thank you to someone on the record. You were gone, I thanked you. So we'll just come back to that. For allowing the nimbleness of this to happen, but also to commissioners, Multnomah County commissioners that put forward the resolution to partner with us both on this. I know Commissioner Singleton and Commissioner Brim Edwards wrote the resolution in tandem and put it forward, and it was a 5-0 vote. So thank you for all that made that happen and for their work. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We will now adjourn to a work session. Right? Yes. We have President's Work Group of the Future of Supportive Housing Services discussion as our work session today. We just wanted to provide a brief debrief, and discuss the progress made by the Supportive Housing Services Work Group. As you know, the work group that I convened earlier this year has stakeholders that have come together and are starting to provide recommendation to Metro Council on regional mission, vision statements, and also KPIs for a clearer direction of what a regional system could look like. The work group met Monday, April 21st, to discuss regional goals and key performance indicators. And we have Liam Frost, our interim housing director, here to share those key themes from last week's meeting. And then I will invite Councilor Simpson and Lewis to provide any observations, and then we'll open it up. Liam.
Good morning, Madam President.
Thank you.
And Council, good to be here this morning. For the record, Liam Frost, he, him, his, interim director, I guess. It's good to be here. So as President Peterson mentioned, I'm going to be here to provide a brief debrief for you all. We'll get to the lunch pretty soon, but we want to make sure that we're providing you with the information around the progress that the work group is making. And so I'm here to provide an update on the meeting that happened on April 21st. As a reminder, this work group was brought together to discuss and provide recommendations to the Metro Council about the future of SHS, especially around a regional vision, key performance indicators that have broad support from those community leaders. At this last meeting, the work group primarily focused on two topics. One, the need for a system-wide evaluation of SHS and its concomitant other services around SHS, and also a vision framework, which goes really to the heart of the purpose of the work group. It's also important to note that at the prior meeting, the work group spent the bulk of their time exploring what a more robust or healthy regional system could look like and what it might take to get there. You'll see before you this beautiful slide. It kind of looks like spaghetti against the wall, but it really wasn't. This was a well-intentioned effort in the first phase of getting more structured around the highlights and the insights from different leaders from around the region. This graphic shows the feedback captured on the discussion on April 7th when they first approached the idea of the vision framework. Some of the overlapping themes that percolated to the top from that feedback were a desire for more collaborative and regionally aligned system, a holistic, responsive, no wrong door system, and a system designed to last for the long term. All things that I think that myself and my predecessor, Patricia Rojas, have talked to you about over the last few years. But it was, for me, very affirming to hear that reflected back from regional leaders. Building off of that feedback, the group was then asked to return with their ideas in a much more structured format to the April 21st meeting. Next slide, please. And they were asked to use this upcoming lovely and deceptively simple template you see before you on this slide. And if this template didn't work for certain folks, they were still permitted to provide their framework in different ways that worked for them. It's worth noting that we received several SHS framework proposals from individual workgroup members, including a few from members representing coalitions. And as we encouraged them to do so, some worked together outside of the meeting space and came with prepared frameworks based on their collaboration. And that brings us to the most recent workgroup meeting. We know that the workgroup represents a range of pretty strong opinions, as Councillor Lewis and Councillor Simpson have experienced, and it's been helpful to have their leadership and President Peterson's leadership in bringing folks together, because they're starting to show up really well and working together well despite some of those differences and differences of opinions, and really working towards that common regional goal. In the meeting, members broke out into small groups and shared their draft frameworks. They were directed by the facilitators to focus on areas of alignment and to draft some potential regional goals and KPIs. From this conversation, some key themes emerged. One, an aligned, integrated regional system, a people-centric system. That was really validating to hear that not just folks who are used to working in service provision, but some of the elected leaders in the room really felt like centering the person would help build the system around that and create better outcomes. I think co-chair Ben West was one of the proponents of that people-centered system. And then a system that has robust infrastructure and programs, a theme dear to my heart that we've been trying to build here at Metro for the last few years. Some of the additional themes included were building public trust through transparency, a phased reform approach to meet each county where they're at in their own progress, and also not just the counties, but their own service providers and where they're at in the system too. Mapping the current state of systems in our regional county care continuums, and more efficient uses of community resources. We hear that a lot inside and outside of housing. Next slide, please. The meeting also included or continued the conversation around a quote-unquote systems evaluation, or some have also called it in the workgroup an audit, although we know there are key differences between the two. This is a topic that has been brought up as a priority by several workgroup members to this point, and to support that conversation, staff provided the group with a comprehensive list of existing and upcoming audits and evaluations of SHS. A lot of our local elected leaders are not aware of the different audits that have been executed here at Metro, Multnomah County, Washington County, and so I think starting from a landscape understanding of what has happened, what's upcoming, will help them, just center where they're at and what they need to hear. We are hoping to continue the conversation through a webinar with Auditor Brian Evans in the future. And the conversations at the meeting centered around what's needed for this effort, including involving service providers and focusing on long-term structural solutions. In response, Metro staff leadership, including myself, have begun discussions with our county counterparts to begin to scope what this effort could look like, with additional discussions upcoming. In fact, Metro staff met with a potential consultant yesterday to start figuring out what that might look like and what the deliverable might look like. I'm sharing that with you to let you know that we're really trying to move fast in this and deliver for the work group. The next few meetings, the work group's going to meet 3 more times and provide recommendations to this council just over a month from now, mid to late June. The May 5th meeting was rescheduled to May 12th. May 19th is tentatively scheduled for that webinar I just mentioned with Auditor Evans. And then in the upcoming meetings scheduled for June 2nd and June 16th, we'll address governance. We're going to report back on areas of alignment within that vision framework and hopefully provide a draft scope and timeline for the systems analysis work at that point too. As a reminder, the work group is not being asked to reach consensus or a majority report. Rather, this council will hear the breadth of members' recommendations as you consider your next steps on the SHS reforms. That's my brief update. I'm going to hand it back to you, President Peterson.
Thank you. Councillor Lewis?
Sure. Don't have a ton to add other than the work that was done in our breakout sessions. I was participating with Mayor Rosner and Mayor Beatty online, and I think we've just scratched the surface. We had a lot of time. but I think we got 2 bullets in. So this is a group that wants to do this work and dive in. The work really does reaffirm, in my mind, some of the strategic initiatives from the Tri-County Planning Body, but from the kind of metrics side and not the creating new systems and movement side, to kind of assess where we're at, set goals, and do it. But I feel like the process is going well. The facilitation, obviously that beautiful slide was done in real time. And I think that's a particularly useful tool when we do have such strong opinions, recognizing that sometimes people who are speaking on different sides of the issue are sometimes opposite sides of the same coin, and those connections have been made in the room. So thanks for the process.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so
That's
I
right.
can't give you any real updates. Sorry, council. But from our previous conversation that I was able to attend, where we did come up with that graphic, I mean, to Councilor Lewis's point, to be able to wrangle that many personalities into a room and to try to get folks on a page of progress and moving forward, that's no small feat, and that's a big hurdle. So thank you to both of you all, both of my colleagues here, for your steadfast leadership, and then obviously the housing team. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions for Liam or the rest of us? I'll just add, I'm very pleased at the way the folks in the room are working towards an actual change in how to do business, and recognizing that there has been a need to move away from programmatic response to a system response. There's an overwhelming acknowledgement of that and a desire to change that over time. I think what we all need to recognize is that won't happen quickly, but saying you have a problem is the first step to recovery. But we all recognize how we got here so fast, right? We had a system and a lot of money came in and there wasn't time to really figure out how to reconfigure in real time and disperse money. So taking this time has been really necessary in order to not just get better outcomes, but to build trust back up in the community. And while I know reform is a very strong word for a lot of folks, it is a word I think that we need to continue to use. We've used key shifts, we've used other less strong terms, but I believe that what people are looking for is reform, and what they're gonna get is reform. And the ownership over that reform is the most important piece of it all. So I just want to thank the council for allowing us to take this time to try and get everybody on board with a vision of what this can look like in the future, and then be able to point to the performance metrics and the collection of the data, the analysis of the data, to be able to tell the story in a more quantitative way. We've been very focused on qualitative, which is always important, but not as dramatic, in order to do lessons learned and figure out those trends and find the gaps. So just thank you to all of you, and thank you to the staff. This has been a heroic level of effort, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll keep it up. All right, we will move on. I'm sorry, Counselor, I didn't see your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I just want to say I appreciate the work of the work group, and the fact that they take it seriously, including several of the mayors from my district seem to be taking it very seriously. I think is a very positive sign that they recognize that we have made progress and that we're on track to make progress. And I also that they recognize that, as President Peterson noted, this is still a work in progress, and what we end up with, hopefully in a year or 2 or 3, is not exactly what we're going to be starting out with, and that there's a lot of work to be done. But the fact that they take it seriously, I think, is an important sign. And thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Wong.
Great, thank you, Madam President. And thank you for this convening and my colleagues, Councilor Simpson and Lewis for being there, and thanks to office staff for your hard work. I think it's really important to create that ownership and bring everybody along. And we're talking about everybody. There's like the folks in the group, and then there's, other stakeholders and providers, in the broader ecosystem. And I'm wondering, are we nearing that point where we should have expanded and broader conversations with other stakeholders? Like, do we have enough there to bring out yet? Because again, like I mentioned last time, once we go through this process, there's another process of creating regional buy-in beyond this group. And yeah, when do we start that?
Well, I can't answer the question around when do we bring in other stakeholders. I'll leave that to our leadership. What I can share with you is where we're at in the process right now. And as I mentioned, we've had work group members. You saw that slide where they threw out their concepts, we captured their themes, and we've asked them to submit their framework. So we're at a point now where we've got really smart staff sifting through each one of those frameworks and those ideas and analyzing it, to Councilor Lewis's point earlier, where in the meetings you might only get 2 bullet points, but we're asking people to do homework. And so we're getting a lot of information that we really need to analyze and synthesize, and we're going to be delivering that back in the next couple of weeks. I'm hopeful that we'll do it in the next meeting, to be honest. But that's where we're at in terms of the process, and I'll pass it over to President Peterson.
Well, I would say that we need to work on what that outreach looks like in terms of what we're asking and by when. But I would say that I think we need some more meat on the bones in order to send it out, in order to get real input back. Otherwise, it might seem out of context and not real enough. I think the KPIs are the important part. Are we pointing, if this is the goal and you agree with the goal, is this really the measurement that we want to use? Is it pointing us in the right direction? I think that's the question we need to ask, because I think the goals are going to be pretty universally agreed to. Maybe we'll hear 1 or 2 perspectives that there's something missing. But I bet it's already covered under one of those because we've heard, but it's good to find out if we miss something. But I think the KPIs are going to be the more important thing of hearing from those on the ground, and how to collect the data to actually find out if we're going in that direction. So I think getting that kind of input is going to be really important. And then figuring out, because I keep saying these are temporary, because this is going to have to be an iteration, because we have to create that culture of learning. And if we say that these are permanent, people won't go back and analyze whether it was the KPI that actually forced us off track when we meant to go here and we went there. I think that's really important to acknowledge and build into the system of, are we achieving the ultimate vision with these KPIs? Or have we sent everybody off in a direction that wasn't the right direction? We could easily do that. And I think that getting feedback on that is going to be important.
Yeah, it just seems like we have some great progress.
Yeah.
And some real, movement and conversations, and I want to keep that momentum going by broadening our circles. But
yeah, and I think what everybody has heard from each other is that we all basically agree on where we need to be. Maybe not by when, but even when people are using different words, we're all hoping for the same outcomes, basically. So I think that was helpful, so that the 3 counties could actually see that they had very similar goals, and they might approach it differently, but they're all working in the same direction. So I'm pleased with that as well.
Good, thank you.
All right. Seeing no hands raised, thank you, Liam, much appreciated.
Thank you.
And before I turn it over to the Chief Operating Officer, I'd like just to acknowledge somebody's birthday. Happy birthday. We will not sing.
We're not going to sing one.
Well,
Can we hum?
okay. Dear Marisa.
Happy birthday to you.
Wow.
Thank
Way to bring it home.
That's so sweet.
25
Thank you.
forever.
25 forever, yes.
These grays are just, for style.
Right. Lisi.
All right, anything to
you so much.
communicate?
Yes, just one small item, not small, but just wanted to give a quick shout out to our household hazardous waste team. They had an extremely successful community collection event for Earth Day in collaboration with the City of Gresham on April 19th. Staff were on hand to collect sharps and CFL light bulbs, which can't be disposed of in household garbage. They were able to assist 450 cars and collected 891 total pounds of household hazardous waste, including a record 14 totes of sharps. So thank you to the RIC, Metro Paint, our WPES interns, and Pete from Metro South Household Hazardous Waste for helping to staff that event. The team has a series of upcoming events that we'll be hosting, including a neighborhood collection event this Saturday at Mount Hood Community College, also in Gresham. So you can stop by between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. to get assistance with safely disposing of up to 35 gallons of household hazardous waste. And there's more information on oregonmetro.gov/tools-living, and then just check the garbage and recycling section.
Quick question. I know you said 14 buckets of needles or sharps?
Totes.
Totes of sharps. I think about folks who have to use daily for like diabetes and things like that. Is there any connection with like our county health partners? I know like folks at REACH would probably take this kind of information and disseminate it throughout the communities where folks are at that don't know about it. Is there opportunities for touch points?
It's a great question. I do believe that WPES has some touch points with our county partners, especially for the community sharps boxes that are at different collection sites. But I will, just enough to be dangerous. I will get back to you with more info.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course.
Awesome, thank you. Counselors, any communication? Counselor Lewis.
Sure, thank you. I have a few items because it's been a minute since we've all been together in public meeting. First, happy International Workers' Day. Also want to lift up the work of the Lights Out movement. We are in the peak day of the peak month of migratory birds, so turn out your outside lights when you go to sleep so they don't get confused, distracted, all of those things. But first, wanted to thank this agency, our staff, and Councilor Simpson and Wong for joining for These Sacred Hills, an extremely powerful film that we played in this chamber on Tuesday afternoon. We had about 80 in attendance from across the agency, from planners to park staff to COO, GAPD. Would recommend this film to anybody who does any sort of outreach, engagement, or process in government. We were honored to have production team join us, as well as 3 members of the Yakima Nation, and then a journalist featured in the film for some after-film Q&A. So that was really impactful. I believe it's on Metro Learning. If you even know how to get into that, colleagues, you can find a recording. Also, I have spent 2 days this week in Salem. Want to lift up our lobby team for the first ever, I believe, Salem JPAC Lobby Day. We've gone to DC every year, and we neglect to just drive down to Salem, where we've actually had some really good meetings, particularly because the transportation package is starting to heat up. And then my other lobby day was with the Willamette Falls Locks. So thanking the legislative support we have. 2 meetings to report back on. The Supportive Housing Services Oversight Committee meeting. We met on Monday. The big takeaways there, we reviewed fiscal year 26 draft work plans. There are also some committee vacancies, so recruitment. We should ask our staff which areas are in need of coverage for those recruitments. I didn't note it down. And then also last Thursday, RWAC had a meeting. Chair Nolan might have some additional points, but really working through where we are with the fees and the modeling for the budget in a budget exercise.
Thank you. Counselor Rosenthal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to appreciate that Councilor Lewis mentioned both the May Day as well as the dark skies issue. I think that's great. On a more prosaic level, WEA met this morning and had a rather lengthy discussion about the Basalt Creek area. And the reason I mention that is because Metro has three connections. First of all, about 15 years ago, that was an area that was adopted for economic development without a concept plan. And there's been some, but not perhaps enough coordination between the cities on that. Secondly, our connection is we've been doing a lot of work with the cities, both Tualatin and Wilsonville, on protecting some of the natural resource values in that area, including grants. And thirdly, as attached to that industrial and employment area is the recent addition of the industrial lands in the Sherwood complex. So it's an area of interest because of potential for economic development. There are some there is one parcel that's been assembled in the southern area that's well over 50 acres, which adds to the kind of industrial potential that we might need. So it was an interesting discussion.
Thank you. Councilor Wong.
Thank you, Madam President. Just one update. We had MPAC last week, and kudos to Chair Sherman, who actually does a really amazing job making sure people get up and attend. So we had quorum right away, including from the city of Portland, which was all great to hear. We had some great updates. I think a lot of excitement around the future vision coming up in ways that MPAC will participate. And we also had an update on the TV Highway LPA, and then a community connector transit study. And just general appreciation to the staff for being so professional on all those. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Nolan.
Thanks, Madam President. I will join in offering greetings on behalf of International Workers' Day. It ought to be that we celebrate people who produce and deliver services 364 days of the year, and those who own the Capitol just once, but we're not there yet. I will also add just a touch to what Councilor Lewis mentioned about RWAC. We had a really lively discussion about the recommended budget, the proposed budget from the department. And the RWAC members raised concerns that are not entirely new, but in a context that amplifies them a little bit with regard to the increase in the proposed increase in fees for the tipping fees, which the department is recommending a budget that would require a nearly 12% increase in tipping fee. Regional system fee, I think just under 6% is the arithmetic if the proposed budget is adopted. This continues to be a bit of a friction between Metro and the local governments who have to take our approved fees and turn around and convert them into collection fees in their own jurisdictions, and they bear the brunt of their citizens, their residents' reactions. There will be some recommendations coming from a report based on the committee discussion. I haven't seen them yet, but the staff at WPES took really, really good information down from the meeting. They get a lot of credit for that, and they will be presenting that to the council before the WPES budget and fees are brought to a vote. More to look forward to.
Thank you.
President
Yes, Marisa.
I have one more really cool thing I've neglected to mention. So our cooling corridor study is continuing. I got an awesome briefing from the team, the multidisciplinary team yesterday, and you should have a report by September on all the different things that they've been looking at. They've been doing mapping, they've been looking at different strategies, they've taken a deep dive into research, international research about heat and protecting people. But this Monday, they, as part of their work, are hosting a Chief Heat Officers expert panel, including the UN's Chief Heat Officer. It's from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. It should be on your calendars, but if it isn't, let me know. We'll record it. We'll make sure that we send it around. But we just, really wanted to hear from people across the country and the world how they are dealing with this emerging issue of extreme heat. So we haven't talked about that one in a while and wanted to give you an update on it.
That's great. Thank you. Look forward to it. All right. Any other communications? All right. Seeing no further discussion, the council work session is adjourned, and our next regularly scheduled meeting is Tuesday, May 8th, 2025 at 10:30 a.m. See you there.